You've been around a lot of teams who made the playoffs, didn't make the playoffs, or close to making the playoffs. Do you get a vibe on this team yet halfway through about the quality of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got a really good football team. I think how we played at Elon, we had a lot of opportunities to win that game. We got to figure out a way at the end to win them. But I think talent-wise, we're as good as anybody in the league. And I like where we are. We got to continue to practice well and get better, obviously. But, we can compete week in and week out, no question about it.
Mr. Trussler's here. I wonder if you could comment on his improvement. And statistically, he's much better. And I wonder if, just in understanding the game and what you want of him, if he's made a jump this year.
Oh, he's made a tremendous jump this year. I think, he's doing exactly what we're asking him to do, on every kick. What we're looking to do with our punt team, he's not selfish. I mean, he could, if he wanted to be selfish, he could kick one and line drive it and try to get himself a 65-yarder. But that's not what we're doing. And, he's doing everything we asked. Now, last year he was banged up. He had some, and he can probably tell you a little bit more about his injury situation. But, he had surgery on both calves when the season was over. I can't remember. But really, he's kicking with some pain a little bit and probably not 100%. This year I think he's 100%.
Villanova's a strange case in that they've had two rough defensive games against the run. And it's really hurt them both times. Otherwise, they've been typical Villanova. What do you see when you look at them? I mean, Army ran on them, but they run on everybody. Monmouth ran on them. They pretty much run on them too.
Well, I mean, obviously they played two teams that are really good running the football. Then those teams are probably doing that against everybody. I think as you look at the other games that they played, how well they played on defense. They've played really good defense, and I know statistically you can't take two games out, so it's always going to be there. But you got to take it for what it is, and the fact that those were two really good running football teams, and but other than that, I think they've been playing their other three games. I think they've been playing really good football.
Why do the Spiders practice in the morning? Is it excuse me, more academic? More, you want to get them up and moving, and how's that going?
Well, I noticed when we were practicing in the afternoon, they would, as the season started to wear on, they would come walking in the building and pretty much drained. This is a tough academic school, and I think getting beat up, not beat up all day, but, having all day of rigorous academics and then saying, all right, let's turn this thing off. Now let's go to, the football. I just saw it as not being, great. I didn't like the mentality coming in the building. Now they come in the building in the morning and it's all ball. They don't have to, they wake up. It's not like they got to put academics behind them. Once we practice, we're done with them for the day. So they got the rest of the day and night to do what they got to do academically. I think it's been tremendous. The other thing, too, is you never run into and it's not happening as much now, but early in the season, the thunderstorms in the afternoon. Now you're working around that constantly. So I just, we made it work, and our academic people, there's enough classes that we can take them in the morning or in the afternoon and practice in the morning. I like it. I know a lot of people actually do it.
Is this your second year of running it this way?
Might be third year, yeah.
When you look at Saturday's opponent, time of year, the records, everything screams sort of big game. I know coaches don't like to see it that way, but could you comment on the bigness of this game, given the circumstances?
Yeah, I mean it's a really big game. we're playing a quality opponent, a team that's, picked to win the league this year. I think our guys understand that Villanova's got a tremendous program and an excellent football team, and we're back at home. I know these guys like to play at home, so it's a huge game. But again, we always talk about let's just go 1-0, no matter who it is.
Coach Ferrante said a couple weeks ago that sometimes his team starts slow, and he thinks it's and as the year goes on, it gets better because they don't have the numbers big state schools have. Maybe they're a little less aggressive in camp as far as practicing that one. Can you relate?
Yeah, I can relate to the numbers. We got the same numbers they have, and all of a sudden now you get. You get a couple injuries. Now you're even more depleted. We only tackled, and again, we actually, we didn't tackle great the first game. Might have been a lot to do with Virginia, but we've tackled pretty well throughout the season, but we only tackled one time. During camp, and in spring we'll tackle more, but in fall camp, it was one scrimmage to the ground, and it was an extremely fast whistle. I was standing back there whistling it down as quickly as possible because you just don't have enough bodies, and I see some of these teams that have 160 play scrimmage. Well, they got ones, twos, and then they got to get their threes work, and their threes get 37, 40 reps. We don't have enough numbers to say, all right, let's get the threes going here. So it's, I've been a believer that you don't need to tackle in camp to be good at tackling. I think there's a lot of other ways to teach it. I think we thud quite a bit, and I think really that kind of teaches you to tackle. And if we got to go low, we got all the stuff to work on low tackles, however we do it. But I've never been a proponent of tackling a whole bunch in camp. That was a long-winded answer.
Well done.
All right.
Questions?
Is that it?
We might have a couple on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Hey, what's up? I didn't know you guys were there.
You're mentioning Villanova and that being a great program and everything. And looking at them offensively, how much do you see in the way of similarity? Both you guys scoring a lot of points and using run and pass both pretty effectively.
Yeah, I think they're a lot different than us. They're scoring a lot of points and getting a lot of yards on big plays. And, that the quarterback, I said it the other day, he's got an extremely strong arm. He can get it 65, 70 yards down the field. And they're finding people open way down the football field for huge chunk plays. And, I can't even count how many they've had so far this year. But I think if you look at it, we got 3 receivers leading the league in receptions. They got a couple guys that are leading the league or right up there in yards per catch. So it's way different in my mind, and how they want to move the football. I think running attacks and when we run the ball, they're probably running it more than we are, but very very similar in the running game. I think we both want to establish the run in some capacity, but they're way different in the passing game than we are.
And what's the best way of sort of mitigating those really big, long plays that they have had in the passing game?
Well, they've got some from the pocket, but they've got a lot of them where he gets out of the pocket and sees their guy down there about 70 yards and just heaves it. And so we have to contain him. We have to keep him in the pocket. We have to get him on the ground. We get opportunities to get him on the ground, and and then you got to plaster on people, and you got to, they'll be running a route, and then all of a sudden they'll convert the route on a scramble, and he'll be wide open way down the field, and he finds them. He gets it to them. I'm not sure how he sees them half the time, but he does. And so we cannot let him, we got to really contain him. We got to have somebody ready to go tackle him if he gets out of the pocket.
Jake, halfway through, how about your assessment? You've been around college football for a while now. How do you feel about what the Spiders have going on?
I feel really good where we're at. Obviously taking that loss last week, it stings a lot, but I still feel like we're in a good position in the league, and everybody still has a lot of faith, and nothing's really changed. Our preparation's still the same, and I think we've done a lot of good things. I think we can improve on a lot of things, but I think we're in a good spot for us, and we're just excited to see where we end up at.
In your offensive to-do list, I wouldn't ask you about the defense, but what would you like to see the offense do better?
We've definitely got ourselves in some situations in short yardage and in the red zone where we would like to be a little bit better. So I think just in those areas, but I don't see us not having an issue with it in the future. So just being able to do that and just keep doing what we're doing in the passing game and establishing the run and just continue to execute.
Aaron, could you address your improvement this year, and is it physical? Coach suggested that part of it might be.
Yeah, I think it's a 50-50 split. Obviously, this year I've had a pretty good run so far. So last year I had my popliteal artery entrapment syndrome came back, which is an injury I had back playing Australian rules football. So I was just sort of managing that. Wasn't kicking a lot, wasn't in the weight room as much as I would like. And this year it's been a lot nicer just being able to kick freely, do extra stuff in the weight room, and have that peace of mind knowing that my legs are definitely stronger. And then obviously just understanding the game. Like last year was my first season playing football. I didn't really know the difference between, I guess, teams that rushed or teams that held up. I think my first 4 games I just tried to kick every ball as fast as possible without swinging naturally. So it took me a while to sort of understand those little differences. And yeah, coming into this season, it's definitely a lot more helpful knowing that going into the game, what a team might give you if they rush a lot, if they hold up, if they give you a mix.
Can you give us an example of what Coach was talking about where you wouldn't want to smoke at 65 yards, where you'd like to place it somewhere or put specific height on it or something like that?
Yeah, that's my game mostly. If you had me kicking against every CAA punter, I probably would come almost last in a big ball competition, but I think my game is being able to pick a spot and say this is where we're going to kick, gunners go down, but have it with the right hang so we get our guys down there ready to tackle or cause a fair catch. But it's just matching up distance with hang. There's no point kicking the ball 55 yards if you're kicking it in the air 3 seconds. That gives the best athlete on the other team 20 yards of space. So you've got to match it up and allow your team to get down there and also, maximise your distance. So, obviously the goal is around 40-yard net. So if you can do that more times than not, then any punter in the country will be in pretty good stead.
And lastly, do you always have the option to keep running rather than kicking?
Not really. For me, it kind of disrupts your rhythm a little bit. Punting's very much a process, and if you start getting outside of that, then there's other variables that come into play. You might do an extra false step, or you don't swing as nice as you want. So I would just say, even if I do have the space, I might take a tad bit off, but I still want to go through my process the same, because at the end of the day, you're kicking with 10 other guys on the team, and if they're not used to a different style or a different rhythm, then it's going to put them off. They might look back and think, why is the ball not punted? So yeah, for me, just making sure the rhythm is quite consistent. You've only got 2 seconds between snap and catch, and if you're thinking too much, then you'll probably make a mistake more times than not.
Hey, if I can sneak in one more, and that is you came to the University of Richmond sight unseen. Just wonder, you look back at it now, what you saw when you got here, and how comfortable are you now?
Definitely a lot more comfortable now. It's all that, I always say this to a lot of people, the punting's actually the easiest part. like all the pro kick friends that message or I call, or people back home. The punting's the easiest part, but it's actually just sort of understanding that there's a big culture difference, being away from family, understanding the schedule. This is a hard life. Practice early in the morning, a lot of homework. So just finding that balance, knowing when to, have some fun when you get the chance, but also when to knuckle down. And I think now I've definitely got that balance between working really hard and then hanging out with friends if I need to. And that means that when I'm coming back to football, I'm a lot more clear mentally. I think last year, juggling all of that, I was a little bit clouded at sometimes, but yeah, it definitely feels nice now, like understanding the schedule and having it's a year and a half now of friendship, so that definitely helps.
Thank you.
Kyle, question on Zoom?
Yeah, kind of, Aaron, in that same vein, I talked to Harry at James Madison, and he mentioned that the pro kick guys, in terms of having like a network with one another, maybe even being able to meet up in person, has been really beneficial to him. Has that been true for you with the pro kick guys as well?
Oh, absolutely. Harry O'Kelly was the first Australian that I saw here. He actually came down, I think, my second week at Richmond, and just he's a very calm person, and when I first got here I think I was a little bit jittery, a bit all over the place, so having him's been awesome. I've called him in the past and sort of complained about something or feeling not great, and he's always been like, just calm down, like it'll get good, you'll get used to it, and he's been right every time, so I think now you get to a point where you sort of understand that those situations might come about, like you might be overwhelmed with work or football or your body's sore, but just being able to ride that wave and get through. And then obviously just being able to call an Aussie and see an Aussie, it mentally is really nice, because there might be a few phrases that I don't use here because Americans don't use it as much, and just being able to have those conversations kind of connects you back to home in a way. It's like a nice little circuit breaker for when you're sort of feeling homesick or struggling a little bit.
Oh, cool. And Jake, with looking at Villanova, what they do defensively, they've obviously undergone a lot of personnel changes and, from last season, but what do you anticipate seeing from them this week?
Honestly, just a well-coached group. I think they're athletic on the back end, and they have a lot of people that hustle to the ball, and they tackle really well, and I think they're going to bring everything they got. I'm sure they're doing their homework on us, and I'm sure they have some schemes for us, but we just got to do our job day by day, walk through tomorrow and just anticipate what they'll do. And but I think they'll be pretty good, but we just got to do what we do.
And in terms of when you mentioned, being in a good spot as far as the CAA and that sort of thing goes, do you put any added pressure at all to, stay on the right side of 500 in the league with this game and kind of have like a big league win going into the back half of the season?
Yeah, obviously you don't want to, think about the future too much and how the season's going to pan out and everything, but obviously you don't want to fall under 500 or stuff like that, especially in a league like this where, one team could just take it over. And but yeah, I think we're at the spot we need to be. Maybe, we needed a little wake-up call or something last week, and I think going into the bye week, 3-2, and then come out of it 4-2 is going to be great. And I think we're just in a really good spot.
Thank you.
Hey, if a football fan asked you if there was a significant difference between the Southern Conference and the Colonial from what you've seen so far, is there one?
Honestly, I don't see too much. I think CAA might have a little bit more athletes, a little bit bigger size schools and stuff like that. But I mean, I think everybody in the FCS, I like to give respect to everybody, so I think everybody can play with everybody at this level, and I think somewhat of a difference, but nothing crazy.